Hey everyone, Rushy here. With the release of the Varlamore expansion, we've got a ton of new content. So far, one of my favorites is this Perilous Moons dungeon. It falls somewhere between Barrows and Vorkath in terms of difficulty mechanics, but you don't really get punished too hard for making mistakes, and the loot is actually pretty decent for mid-level accounts like this one, and I believe that's what this dungeon is kind of intended for. So starting off going to the northeast side, I believe is kind of the best starting point. You'll notice that I'm wearing a Guffin's Plate body, so that's because defense is quite important against these bosses. But you really should only need one tank item. Uh, and if you're a higher level account, Bandos is plenty tanky, where you don't need to sacrifice any damage. You should also have three different weapons, so I have a Crush, a Stab, and a Slash weapon. Um, that's just because the bosses have different weaknesses, so you need those three styles. Also, I'm bringing a Dragon Dagger, just you need a special weapon for the slash style, which I'll explain later. The big draw for me is your ability to completely sustain yourself within the dungeon, never needing to bank or resupply. I took the tea from the campsite that you set up during the quest, which fully restores your run energy, and then I also took all of the supplies out of the crate, just so I can kind of stock up for this first initial run, but then you end up being able to completely sustain yourself once you kind of get going. So I'm just getting a few fish here. This is a really janky kind of puzzle here, but it's just you only have to do it once just to get some initial food here. So once I'm done with that, I'll just go ahead and cook this food. They each heal about 20 to 25. Um, I did make some potions there from the Herblore supplies. I took the grubs out of the bush and crushed them up and put them in the vials, which made these potions. The potions do basically have like a super combat effect plus divine defense as well as restore some prayer. So hopping into the first boss here, he's already in the middle of one of his specials, which is the kind of the moon eclipse phase here. So you need to try your best to stay behind the shield. You'll probably get hit a couple times during it, but that's normal. Now we're using the stab weapon style here, so I have my dragon longsword. Just threw a spec in for fun. Um, Follow the circles around here, you'll see it's lit up. He can hit you if he hits a 0 initially. He's not going to hit you during that phase, so just keep that in mind if you're low on HP and you need to eat. Next special here, he's going to keep spawning things in sets of 3. You need to face them in order to parry the damage back. This is really nice because you're actually damaging the boss during this phase. The other mini bosses in this dungeon don't really have specials where you're actually damaging the boss themselves, but that's why this one is really nice. So keep that piety on. If you don't have access to piety, then you should still use a defensive prayer along with any offensive stats, just so that you can try to best block that damage. A lot of people will use protect melee in here, just that's not necessary. It doesn't really do anything except for drain your prayer points unnecessarily. So that's first boss down. So now here's the main kind of source of food here. You're going to set up these traps. Rustle the bush. And then while those lizards are going, you can go catch a moth for some prayer points. Do it one more time just so I can get a little bit more food stocked up. And each of these lizards are going to give you about 3 food, which heal around 25 each. It does depend on your HP level and cooking level, I think. I'm not sure about the cooking level, but for me they heal around 25 each for each chunk. So that's like 75 to maybe 100 on the high end for each lizard. So next we're heading into the Blue Moon boss, which is kind of an ice sort of theme. Equip the Crush weapon, and then again spawning immediately into a special attack here. So your weapon is basically frozen in ice. You need to punch the ice down, avoiding the kind of shards that spawn out of it. And then once that's done, you can step to that safe spot, I'll put the tile in the description for that same spot. And then again, same kind of thing, you're just following the circle around. It does always go clockwise. And for some reason this one seems to always go down a little bit faster than the other ones for me, I'm not sure why. But this is the second special, tornadoes and braziers. So try your best to dodge the tornadoes as you're running across. This center area is safe. If you do get hit by a tornado, it will turn your runoff, so be sure to just turn that back on, run to the center, and then we'll wait for the phase to end. There we go, pretty straightforward. So now we're in the third room. We'll go ahead and get some energy back. Just because that tornado phase drains you quite a bit. Go ahead and heal up. Take another pot. Switch to DSim. So I'm not sure why, but it's like the Dragon Longsword and Dragon Scimitar have the same attack options in the back end or something, so that if you switch one, it switches the other. Not sure if that's a bug or what, but be sure to switch that Scimitar to slash if it's not. Quickly dumping specs here into the boss. The reason that we want to use specs on this boss is because it heals quite a bit, just passively. Whenever it hits you, it heals itself. Also, if you get hit by any of its special attacks, it heals itself. So you basically want to DPS down this boss as quickly as possible. Alright, Blood Rain phase, not too bad. It's actually very lenient in terms of when those blood things will blow up, so if you just see one kind of forming under you, you can step off. You can stand like 2 ticks under it without any damage, so it's pretty easy to deal with. Continuing to follow the moon cycle. So important thing to note is you should never eat during the attacking the boss phase because he will heal a ton. So if you're going to eat during one of these special phases, as you'll see we have the blood jaguars now. Tip for this one, as soon as you see the blood pool fully form, that's when you can step back on to the jaguar. It does initially hit you for around 15 damage when that phase starts, but you heal it back, I believe, and then even more. You get more healing than it hurts you while you're running that phase, of course, unless you get hit. Alright, finishing up the blood boss, Blood Moon. So now on your way to the vault here, there's some butterfly or some moths that you can catch to restore your prayer. And then just getting ready for the next round. So that's pretty much the cycle. Once you get through once, then you kind of only need to do 3 lizards every time on that second dungeon. just so you can kind of sustain the food. You really don't end up eating all that much just because the food heals so much. And as long as you're following the circle around, you shouldn't be taking too much damage. So I'll just do one more round here. Go ahead and pot up. One nice thing is if you spawn during the middle of a special, that it kind of immunes you from damage for a little bit. But we are spawning into this parry phase, so go ahead and turn Piety on. Alright, now we get a full Eclipse phase here. This is kind of janky, like you can follow it best you can, but it still kind of wraps around sometimes. I guess light refracts. Yeah, like that went straight through the shield. But it's fine, you can take a couple hits here. If you do need to heal up, do it now. Better to do it now than during the damage phase. You'll notice here I'm hitting a bunch of zeros. That's just because you can't damage him below 1 HP in this phase. But as soon as he spawns back, you'll pretty much just one-shot him. Boop. And from this point onward, I'm just going to catch the 3 lizards and move on. There's no need to cook them or anything. I already have plenty of food in my inventory. So just set up these traps. Rustle that bush, catch my moth. And we're ready to go. I don't think this part's necessary to light these braziers if you're high DPS. I think it just heals him a little bit if you don't. Uh, but if you're confident in your damage, you can probably just sit in the middle. So what I noticed with this boss is if he's able to hit you 3 times, then he heals a lot on the 3rd hit. So defense is very important. And this is why, because I think it's basically 3 different rolls, and you'll need to pass one of them. So like I was mentioning before, if you get hit 0 at any point during his 3 attack cycle, then the subsequent hits will hit 0 as well. So you basically get punished if he's able to hit 3 in a row. I believe the other bosses have similar mechanics, like the Eclipse will lower your damage and the Blue Moon will lower your defenses. But obviously that's not as worrisome as the boss healing like 80 hit points, so... Alright, and the cycle continues. So that's all I'm going to do for this video. I think I covered pretty much everything I could. I imagine they'll probably come out with some changes to this, so don't take this necessarily as gospel. It is a day 2 video, so it is based on current information. But if you do have any questions, feel free to drop those in the comments. And thanks for watching.